I'll tell you what, Kane's not losing touch here, is he? He's got a bit of a sniff here.
He did. That was his fastest lap too, the last time around. So almost a flat minute, a 60.2. He's within less than this. Look, he's right on his back wheel. So.
Well, I think Kane told me last race meeting that he put in a PB at a mid 58.
Okay.
So he's capable of doing better. Now again, he's probably focused on the big prize tomorrow. He's out there just for a bit more practice, but what we know is he can go faster, and you get a sniff of a rider in front. Sometimes you forget about the main game.
I think he's going to have a challenge. You couldn't be in that position, Chris, and not have a go for the taking second. So doesn't quite have the legs down the back straight of the bike in front, as you can see there, but he's definitely stronger on the brakes and carrying a bit more corner speed here.
Well, it'd be good to see a bit of a challenge come from Kane. He loves his racing, and he's going to enjoy this. He's looking for one up the inside. I tell you what, he's going to have to back out of that, I think, because there's not enough room, and wisely he did.
And he's that time too, Chris, Kane's dipped into the high 59, so the spirit of competition there, and he's making him quicker each lap.
The problem he's got is I think that newer R1 in front of him has a bit more straight line speed, so he's going to have to think very hard about how he's going to put an overtake on. Kurt Sushams just goes through to pick up the last lap board. Kurt's last lap through was a 55.3, so he's backed it off a bit. Best lap 54.7. So, barring a big lunge under brakes from Kane Bowman, I don't know he's going to be able to do it. He's all over the back wheel of Wade Schrader.
Well, he's got another lap, so hopefully he can get a good run around the sweeper here. He may be able to challenge into turn one, and he's definitely got the line, but
it looked like he'd like to run up the inside into one. Oh, yes!
Into two, so up the inside, a great move.
That's very nicely done. I wonder if Wade realised that was coming.
He probably didn't realise he was there. I think he caught him with such pace earlier that he probably thought he'd pulled away, so it's all down to this last half a lap.
Yeah, and as we said, the Yamaha one with a little more straight line speed. Kurt Susham's just finished the race, but rather than completing the lap, actually has run off track and looking like coming back down the dummy grid. So I don't know what that's all about.
That's a bit odd.
But
well, it's going to be a battle of the brakes here. So we've got, looks like Wade, he's having a very good look there, Chris, but he hasn't quite got the metal. So I dare say it's going to be Kane Bowman taking second.
That's a great job. Well done. Both riders. Brilliant race.
And Kane Bowman also, his fastest lap on the last lap to seal second place. So
pumping the air too, so it shows what it meant to him. He really enjoyed that.
They loved it.
And a good ride too from Simon Price to round out a very small field.
Yeah, Simon will be pleased. A 61.42. So very competitive time for someone with limited experience.
Absolutely. I think he should be absolutely delighted with that. It's a great ride there from both Wade Schrader and Kane Bowman. Good to see Wade put his head down to catch them up, and then Kane respond and take the position back. That's what racing's about.
That's exactly right. Well, we're all a bit dusty today, Chris.
Well, we're not all dusty, Rod. Some of us are
feeling a bit lethargic this afternoon.
Some of us are a bit fatigued, but not all of us are dusty.
No, a bit fatigued. I've got a bit of a crook foot, so it's not pleasant standing on it too long. The trouble is we can't sit down and actually see what's going on, so we need to stand up to actually follow the bikes around the circuit. But well, I'm going to take this in between races to have a nice little sit down here.
Yeah, have a nice sit down. I think the next race coming up should help you.
Well, the next race coming up I think will be another cracker.
Tas Supersport, always a fun one to watch.
I'm just wondering in this race whether we'll see Brett Simmons on the 600, sharing the duty with his co-rider. Maybe that's why he didn't compete in the Superbike race.
Yeah, look, quite possibly. It would be good to see Brett get out and have a hit out on the 600 before the main race tomorrow. We'll find out very shortly.
I think there is two 600s in that in their pit area. So whether whether he's going to have a pilot of one and or not, we'll find out shortly.
But running through the bikes that are on grid, we've got Martin Long, Chris McGrath back out, John O'Hughes, Josh Rees, Daniel Briggs, and it looks like Matthew Long actually is.
Is Matthew Long?
Matthew Long,
okay.
Talking to his dad Martin. Matthew Carey, Brian Smith, Harry Sellers, Scott Honeychurch, Darren Grice, Marcus Delaney, Joel Benson. So it looks like that may be the field for race 2 of the Supersport. No, here comes Mitch Hawksley.
Mitch Hawksley's on his way out.
And we have Peter Bellchambers as well, who take over the bike from Ian de Boer, who rode it in race 1. Good to see Mitch out there. The current Tasmanian State Series winner. He and teammate Jason Spencer doing a lot of setup work yesterday here at Baskerville, so it'll be interesting to see how Mitch goes.
The other point, Chris, I was going to ask you was, did you happen to know what happened in race 1 with Jason Spencer starting from the rear of the grid?
No, I don't. And he probably wouldn't tell me either, knowing Jason.
Okay, so hopefully he should take up, he was on pole position, but started race 1 from the back of the grid, so let's see what he does this time. He will certainly take it up to Matthew Long if that's the case, if he's starting from the front. That was
tongue-in-cheek, of course. You wouldn't get
yes.
a nicer guy than Jason Spencer, who is very open and tells you everything that's going on in his team and his racing. It's always a good source of information what's going on out there. Matthew Long heading the field round to come and grid up for race 2. From John Hughes and Chris McGrath, Daniel Briggs, Martin Long, Matthew Carey.
Okay, well Jason, I'm just trying to pick up where he is.
No, but he's not out there.
He's not out there?
No,
okay.
just Mitch, and it looks like Mitch may be doing the same thing as Jason and deciding to start from the rear.
Right.
Now that, as I said, could be about trying to stay out of trouble, or even getting a bit of overtaking practice in. Who knows? We're going to try and find out later on. But it does look like Mitch is going to do the same thing as...
And Harry's also starting from the back of the grid as well, so...
Yeah, anyway, in the starter's hands. Red light is on. And racing, and Matthew Long gets away beautifully. Marcus Delaney too, but it'll be Matthew Long who will actually lead the field into turn 1 for the first time. Just trying to pick up who that is in P3. I think that's Daniel Briggs. Looking to go around the outside of Marcus Delaney, but he's not going to get it done.
Yeah, it is Daniel Briggs in third, and is it Joel Benson?
Chris McGrath, I think.
Chris McGrath?
Oh, that's a big off there from Matthew Carey, it might be. Certainly black leathers. I can't pick up the bike because it's behind the tyre wall. But
I did miss that. What happened there, Chris?
Don't know. All I saw is a bike spiralling through the air. So I don't think that bike's going to be in great state. But the good thing is the rider's up and appears to be perfectly okay. So whether he got nudged, you can do that, as you know, Rod. You can get caught up, catch handlebars with other bikes.
Definitely. Early on in the race, it's or any time through the race, it's not a good outcome if you get your handlebar tagged with another bike.
But getting behind the tyre wall, so the important thing there is that the rider's A-OK and out of the way. So the race will continue. Yellow flag's waving just to let the field know that there is a parked bike there. But at the moment, Matthew Long, as per race 1, is showing a clean set of heels. I can't say what happened there. Look, it could be a cold tyre that's let go, but you don't know. I didn't see it, so no point speculating. All I can say is I think that bike's going to be a bit second-hand.
Yeah, they usually get a bit of air when they go off the track there. The track does drop away quite severely.
So it was Matthew, because he hasn't crossed the line. And he's co-rider with Josh Rees tomorrow, but you can actually say it's fortunate it wasn't their race bike for tomorrow. Sorry, Matthew, I know it's your own race bike that is lying in the grass, but at least the 2 hour is still secure for tomorrow. Oh, tight move there from John O'Hughes, no surprise, up the inside of Chris McGrath. Chris back down the inside into turn 2, having none of it. Was that Chris or was it Daniel Briggs?
I think it's Daniel Briggs.
Don't know, we'll have a look next time round.
Yeah, it is.
It is Daniel Briggs.
It is Daniel. He was shown as in second. I'm not sure what's going on here. Matthew Long has disappeared off the timing screen, but he's definitely out there.
Yeah, definitely out there, going down the main straight, so no concern there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a glitch with the timing. It's showing Marcus Delaney is in the lead and Daniel Briggs in second, so not quite exactly how it is on track.
No, I'm sure they'll correct that in a moment. Marcus Delaney, you're right, goes through in P2. Jonathan Hughes, Daniel Briggs. Oh, and that is Scott Honeychurch looking for an inside run up the inside of his teammate, Chris McGrath. So interesting to see teammates on track together.
And Joel Benson not far behind, so from Brian Smith. Peter Bellchambers is in 8th, Mitch Hawksley's in 9th, so he's finding his way through from starting from the rear, and Josh Rees is in 10th position.
Yeah, certainly good to see Matt Carey up. Doesn't look to be in any sort of discomfort, just standing there spectating. Matthew Long across the start-finish line. Still no timing for Matthew, so as I said, they'll no doubt correct that in a moment. Oh, and look at that, Scott Honeychurch up the inside of teammate Chris McGrath into turn 1. He was eyeing that off last lap. Got it done this time around. Having a bit of a laugh, no doubt, under the helmet.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no punches pulled in the pits.
And you always know Scott will always, the smallest gap, and the Honeychurches will always go for it. So very competitive riders, same as his brother.
Yeah, but very competitive in the pits as well, as far as braking rights and giving the other one a hard time.
Now, it's looking to me, Chris, that Jonathan Hughes is making some inroads into Marcus Delaney, so
it certainly looks like that.
It's going to be, I would say, a challenge here for second position.
As we say, like Jono just puts in, doesn't he? He's riding so well of late.
We still don't have. Matthew Long's come up on the timing now, but they're showing him in 14th position, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a correction required there.
Yeah.
Interesting to see Mitch Hawksley. I know he started from the rear, but going through at a 58.9, so way off what he's capable of, just as Jason Spencer was this morning. So what they're doing, I don't know. Starting from the rear and running slower pace than what they typically would. But we saw in Super Pole that Jason's still very, very capable of getting near PB and lap record pace. So it's all strategy, it's not performance based.
And certainly still staying stationed for second. Marcus Delaney still holding off Jonathan Hughes. The gap's down to probably a tenth.
Yeah,
it's okay to, as you know, Chris, it's you can catch the rider in front, but then you've got to work out how to cleanly pass or make that pass and make it work for you. So a bit of work for John O to do there, because it won't be easy to pass Marcus Delaney.
No, they make it look easy on MotoGP, don't they? They always seem to just be able to run it in hard and square it off and force the other rider out. But I tell you what, when you're in the hot seat,
it's definitely not as easy as it looks.
It takes a lot of courage too, because if you get your timing right, you can have your nose taken out, and that's probably the last you know of it.
Yeah, you've got to make the move forcefully, because there's no mirrors on these bikes. So if you're trying to pass the rider in front of you, you need to make sure that they know you're there, so they don't turn in on you. So it's crucial to get it right.
Last lap board just coming out for Matthew Long, who's a very comfortable leader. Marcus Delaney only crossing the line now, so Matthew a very, very comfortable lead there. Got a bit of a margin there over Jono. Do you think Jono's got it in for a P2 here?
No. I think provided there's no mistake from Marcus, I don't think we'll see a challenge for second.
I'll tell you who's riding really well, and that's Joel Benson. right on the back of Daniel Briggs, who's on the back of Scott Honeychurch. And look, so too Daniel Briggs. He's having a great ride.
Wouldn't be surprised if Daniel has a go at Scott. He's certainly looking like he wants to, judging by the way he went up the hill there into Suckers. So he's got the run down the back straight now, and he's definitely going to have a look on the brakes, I think.
Matthew Long just coming around to pick up the checkered flag. Another well-deserved win for Matthew Long. Past his dad. Marcus Delaney, P2. No, John O'Hughes wasn't close enough.
And,
we'll take P3.
Joel Benson having a look here at Daniel Briggs.
Didn't quite get there, but as I was saying, Joel Benson really, really riding well. Chris McGrath just holding off Brian Smith. Mitch Hawksley actually riding Jason Spencer's bike, so probably not too familiar for Mitch. Maybe that's what it's about, just getting a bit of experience on different bikes. Peter Bellchambers on the GSR 600. Harry Sellers on the R6, who started from the rear of the grid.
Yeah, they're certainly off on the times too, so to what we've seen before and what we know they can do, so interesting.
And Darren Grice.
Different strategies going on.
I was just wondering, Rod, did both riders qualify this morning? Because if they didn't, the other would have to start from the back of the grid.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it worked.
I don't know if that's part of it, but at least in the case of Jason and Mitch, they both started from the rear, so I think that's more a team ploy than anything at all to do with where they qualified. So once again, another very entertaining 600cc race, but as we keep saying, really the big prize is tomorrow. That's what all the guys are thinking about. Although at the moment, I dare say Matt Carey's thinking about what sort of damage his bike sustained.
Well, while I pick the bike up, Chris, I'm just going to nick down into the pits for a minute, and I'll be back shortly.
Well, I'm going to have a quick break as well, and I'll be back as soon as the bikes are on track for the next race. So riders making their way out now for the start of race 10, being the Lights GP Lights production. Also have a change in commentary here. Very privileged to be joined by one of the Lights GP regulars in Mark de Jong. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Chris. You're making me feel very welcome there.
Well,
I'm glad you feel privileged to have me here. I'm glad to be here.
Better company than Rod.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that to myself.
One of your, a class very close to your heart, Mark. We usually see you out there in the bright orange.
Yes, definitely. It's a shame I couldn't compete this weekend, but so it is. I'm still glad to be here, and it's good to see such a good showing in the class. We've got Liam Waters from the mainland again. He comes down every year, which is fantastic to see after the year we've had. So,
now, we were talking earlier about the Lights GP lap record. Now, would that be from last year's 20 lapper with Joel?
I believe it is.
Do you know what time
I think
is?
it's Liam that has it though, and I think it's around a 56 somewhere.
Right, so he's a little way off his best. He's done a flat 58, I think, this morning.
He is. I will say last year with Joel Kelso here, he definitely had someone to spur him along, and he hasn't quite got the same competition this year, I think. Jezza is very capable on the number 40 bike of coming up to those times, as is Taran Ocean. I don't think either of them have hit it, but if anyone's going to give him a bit of a run for the money, it's going to be those two, I think.
Now, we saw Jeremy Huddleston, or Jezza as you refer to him, have a problem on the grid in race 1.
He did. He unfortunately he hasn't ridden this bike in quite some time. Normally he's moved to the superbike class. Unfortunately, his bike is out of action at the moment. And he's always held on to his Moto 3. It's one of his favourite bikes, and he decided to drag it out for this weekend. And I think he just had a bit of a lapse of concentration.
We're in the starter's hands now, Mark, so we'll just wait for that red light to come on. All the riders watching carefully and racing. Great start from Jesse Woods on the four-stroke, as you'd expect. But Liam Waters, I think, has got the whole shot.
Definitely into turn 1. Taran Ocean on the 125 didn't do too bad that time. He struggled last race. Yeah,
Taran said he was going to put a new tyre in for this race, so running the same tyres as he ran at this meeting last year. So that would explain maybe why he's been slightly off his best.
Definitely. And look, Taran's very motivated. I think he's quite keen to try and tag onto the back of Liam there. Although I think Liam's already getting a bit of a run coming into suckers there.
Oh, that's a big move there from Taran up the inside of Jesse Woods, but he's got it done.
And Jesse's going to make it hard for him too. I can see him trying to look up the inside of him already there, I think, into Calvin's.
Remember, of course, that Jesse's actually in a different class. He's leading the Lights production class. He's not actually competing directly against Liam Waters or Taran Ocean.
Very, very true.
But try and tell him that when he's got a bike in front of him.
I was going to say, having been in that situation, you tend to forget about those things and you just want to get in front.
You absolutely do. And look, regardless of which class you're racing, it's great to have somebody in front of you to just tow you along a bit, isn't it?
That's very true. And, you know, if Jesse's got his smarts about him, he'll just stick onto the back of Taran and use that bit of slipstream to keep himself with a healthy lead there. Coming into turn 2. And the gap between Taran and Liam is growing slightly, but Taran's definitely doing his best to keep onto the tail of him.
Yeah, when I was talking to him before, he was also patting his stomach, saying he could lose a couple of kilos. We do often say, Mark, that riding these things, it does help to be a lightweight.
It definitely does. I can certainly attest to that.
Yeah, so you obviously notice, particularly, I guess, where we're looking at the moment, drive up the hill. Every kilo probably matters.
Definitely. Drive up the hill in the back straight. And the other thing is also the size of your frame, so to speak. The better you can get tucked under those fairings, the higher your top speed's going to be. And on these bikes, that makes all the difference.
And we look at the race leader, and there's a great example of the right size.
Yes.
Rider.
His nickname is Midge, and there's a definite reason for that.
So just having a look at his best time so far, 58.7, so a little way off what he did this morning, and I think probably what you're saying is right, Mark, that there's no reason to do a whole lot more at the moment. Probably a lot of guys keeping the powder dry for the 20 lapper tomorrow too, I expect.
That's very true, and also I think the conditions probably aren't conducive to some of those quicker lap times. I've definitely noticed across the classes everyone seems to be just that touch slower today.
Maybe with the exception of Brett Simmons, who just set the outright circuit lap record.
Yes. Was that this morning?
That was race 1. Yeah, look, it's always hard to pick from up here what the conditions are like, but certainly in walking around this morning, I would have thought they were pretty good. Quite mild, not a lot of sun, but
it's quite warm and muggy out there at the moment, I found. Yeah.
Liam
I
Ward's,
heard some of the riders complaining that the track felt a little slippy too.
is that right?
Yeah,
The other riders who weren't winning.
probably, yes. You've always got to have an excuse in your back
That's
pocket.
right. The list longer for some than others.
Yes.
Good to see Lockie Curtis having a good ride. He did take it up to Jesse Woods last time out, but Jesse this time, I think having the benefit of that tow from Tara that we were talking about.
Yeah, indeed. And it could be, I didn't quite catch, but it could be that they got a little bit of a tussle in the start there. Jeremy Huddleston behind him, and I believe that's Dane Griggs on the KTM RC390 behind Jezza.
Yeah, I didn't actually pick up where Jezza was. So he's running P5, and I think you're right, Dane Griggs is immediately behind him.
A quick shout out to Heath Fielding there. That's actually his first time today competing on a road bike. He's normally from motocross, so he's doing quite well.
Wow, I was wondering that before if it's his first race meeting. We did see him running off track a little bit, or almost, and like I was saying to Rod, if that's his first race meeting, an absolutely fantastic effort.
Indeed. And running off the track is not uncommon for motocross riders new to road racing. The old faux pas of putting the bike below you instead of on top of you, so to speak.
Well, absolutely. But look, just to keep the wits about you on your first race meeting, there's a lot going on. You're nervous, you're anxious, and you're trying to do your best. Keep the red mist under control. It's so easy to put a foot wrong because you don't have all that automation down pat that some of the more experienced riders do.
That's definitely it. And coming from motocross, there's definitely a lot of transferable skills. But these 125s aren't the easiest bikes to ride. And he's taken up to it quite well. So Marek behind him as well is also doing quite well.
He's having a great ride, isn't he?
Yep, on the Morawaki.
That's the light blue Morawaki.
Yep,
now, where is he on track at the moment?
He's just coming up the hill at the moment.
Okay, just heading up to Suckers as we speak. So he's having a really good ride.
It's actually, I was saying to a couple of the guys earlier, there's a lot of riders that have really progressed at this event just in the last few days, and potentially due to the year we've had, there's been a lot of racing close together, and it's paid off for a few people.
Yeah, look, I was also saying in the pits to someone yesterday that you do feel a little bit of extra excitement about this weekend. People just feel like it's...
Jez has taken Lachlan there. Once again, they're in different classes, but...
that's all right.
A good battle nonetheless.
Jez will still feel good about it. Yeah, sometimes you just feel that level step up a little bit. Big field. Everyone takes the 20-lapper pretty seriously because it is a fantastic race to be part of and to watch.
Exactly.
Oh, lots of traffic there through turn one.
There's a good battle going on in that group too. It's for the few of the places further back, but they're all trying very hard nonetheless. Again, a mix of the GP and the production bikes. And it's interesting to see, that's one of the great things about this class. There's bikes from 1990 inline 4-cylinder 250s that have been around for a long time, and they're still competitive against 125 GPs, and it is very much a class that comes down to both the rider and the machine.
Yeah, we were saying that before about the racetrack. Really, it's given that the outright lap record has stood for such a long time, really tells you that this track is all about bike setup. Yep. And riding it well.
Exactly.
It's not all about horsepower. The fact that 97 or whenever it was that lap record was set by Sean Giles, it's taken this long to beat it.
That's exactly right.
Oh, there's somebody down, unfortunately, off the end of the sweeper. I can't pick who that is. Ran off in the dirt, almost saved it, and just a fairly low speed tumble. Looking to pick the bike up.
I think it might be one of the Proddy 300s.
I was wondering if it was Matt Allen. Is it? He's running the red and blue. No, I don't think it is. In fact, is Matt even running in this?
Oh, it could be RC390, Hans Gadsden.
I don't know. We always do this. We speculate and then get it wrong. So maybe we'll hold off until we know who it is. We'll probably see them drop to the bottom of the timing screen. In fact, that might confirm it, that it is Hans if it's the case. He almost saved it.
No, sorry. It looks like potentially Andrew Hay on
Andrew
the Ninja.
Hay, Ninja 300, okay. He had it nicely sideways there in the dirt. As I said, almost saved it, but unfortunately a little tumble at the end. Well, hopefully A-OK.
So we're on to the last lap.
Pick up our race leader. just crossing the line
passed.
right now. So
Taken out by Liam Waters. And no doubt, I imagine Taryn will be not far behind.
actually,
Well, there's a bit of a battle with Taryn and Jesse there by the looks of it. Or has Taryn confused the last lap?
I think he has.
I think he has
They're
too.
looking at each other in wonder, and I think Jesse may be saying, "Why aren't you going faster?" And Taryn's saying, "Well, isn't the race finished?" But the results show that Jesse Woods finished P2.
Indeed. Again, bearing in mind that they are in slightly different classes, but of
course,
course,
yeah.
Once you're in the pits and having a bit of a banter, that doesn't matter.
Good to see Jeremy Huddleston picking up P4 outright. Bit of a patchy start to his preparation for this weekend, and the race one issue probably didn't help his mindset. But
No, exactly right. He's coming down a little bit in times, I think. He's down to a 102. It's not where he'd like to be. He's very capable of running those sort of 58s that Liam's running. But again, as we mentioned before, it has been a good 24 months, I think, now that he's ridden the Moto 3.
something we often talk about, Mark, is racing motorcycles is such a confidence game. If you believe, if you're confident in what you're doing and that everything feels right, you can do some good lap times. But if something feels wrong, it's very, very hard to convince your brain to continue to push through it.
Definitely, that's exactly right. And, Jeremy has got a bit on his mind, I believe. Of late, he's a very hard worker and he's got a lot going on, but, still managed to make it out here. And, having, like I said, his other bikes out of action, unfortunately that was crashed, and he was involved with that. So that's all got to play on his mind, but he's still out there giving it a go, and I'm sure as the weekend goes along, he'll get much quicker.
Oh, without a doubt. And look, we know what he's capable of. But the main thing, as I was saying to Jesse yesterday, is that he just takes it in his stride and does it at his pace. He doesn't need to do anything more than what he's doing. That's already a very, very good result, P4. The rest will come.
That's exactly right. So, and Jezza as well, he's a very methodical rider. He'll work through that himself and work out where he can get quicker and work out what he needs to do to get quicker. It's also worth noting that part of the reason Liam Waters is down here is because of Jezza's generosity. He's convinced Liam to come down in the past and put him up at his house, billeting there and looking after his bike for him. So, and that's all through the paddock. There's a lot of riders here who have made friendships and have come down from the mainland, and it's great to have those sort of relationships and have those people here.
Without a doubt, and we hear that quite regularly, how much our visitors enjoy coming to this event. Unfortunately, COVID created some issues for us this time around. Even though the borders are now open, people didn't know what the situation was going to be when they were looking to book travel.
That's exactly right, and it is again good to see that a few of these people have managed to make it very short notice, make it here.
It
But
is.
Bring on 2021. I'm sure we'll have a good event that year, and we'll see all those mainlanders that are so passionate about this event come down and return to Baskerville.
Yes, well, certainly that was the intention of many of them from last year. But as we say, that didn't quite eventuate. 2020 was a bit of a write-off for a lot of people. Good to see Andrew Hay just re-entering the pits, just rolling down pit lane. But obviously that would tell you that he feels quite okay. And in fact, the bike's even half rideable, shows that it really was quite a minor little get-off.
That's it, and it is a fast point on the circuit, but it's that's the great thing about circuit racing, is it is ultimately relatively safe. There's nothing to hit, there's nothing to run into, so he's come off there and gotten himself back up, and no doubt he'll be out there next race, I'm fairly certain, looking at his bike.
Yeah, it's all part and parcel of it. You don't like it to happen, and it usually takes you by a bit of surprise when it does happen. Sometimes it takes a bit of time for your brain to catch up, doesn't it? It's like, oh, I've fallen off.
That's exactly right, yes. And then also to stop.
And to stop. That's the next part of the journey.
You got to remind yourself that sometimes you can't jump back on that bike and keep going.
No, I've had a few where I've been backpedaling, going towards the fence, thinking, yeah, any time now to stop would be good. Because most people, non-motorcyclists, think we're mad, but look, really, I think it comes down to what you're familiar with and what you're comfortable with.
That's exactly right. And look, ultimately, it's all a calculated risk. The one I always like to give to my wife is that there's plenty of people that have injured going down their front steps, leaving in the morning to go to work. So
yeah, how does that one wash?
Generally pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's not too bad about it.
Yeah, I could just see her oh yeah, sure. But as you say, really, people wear some pretty good protective gear. Racetracks are designed,
safety in mind.
With safety in mind as much as practical, and things continue to improve, especially compared to the old days where motorcycle racing safety wasn't even thought of. It was just, well, if you're silly enough to do it, you're silly enough to get hurt. Or you should get hurt. So luckily those attitudes have changed.
No, that's exactly right. And look, we have, all the required professionals here, and, we've got Tas Ambulance here who help out through the day and make sure that anyone that does come off is looked after appropriately and, in good time as soon as they need to be. And, yeah.
One thing I was going to ask you, Mark, something Rod and I often talk about when we look at the lights field down there on the grid waiting for the start. You ride a GP bike, a Moto3 bike.
Yeah.
What do they like to launch?
Challenging, to say the least, particularly the 125s. The Moto3 is slightly easier. The big thing with the 125 is that it makes practically no horsepower until it gets higher up into the revs. And when you do, if you let the clutch out, it's too much grip and it just pulls the engine straight back down the revs and you lose all your drive. So you have to clutch slip. For me, I used to get quite a few laughs because with my size I'd have to do a few paddles and almost looked like I was riding a push bike just to get it off the line. But that's just one of the challenges of GP bikes. They don't have a big beefy clutch like a road bike that is designed to commute as well as go very fast.
That's right, but the four strokes are a little better than that?
It is. It has a little bit more low down grunt, but ultimately the clutch setup is very, very similar. In fact, it's almost identical. That low down grunt does help you get going a little bit easier, but it still sort of has the same thing. Ultimately, the Moto3 that I have only makes about 43, 44 horsepower, which is not very much. And it's interesting to see with the racers, like Liam Waters at the moment is getting absolute gun starts, but the guy weighs, I think a few years ago we worked out that I weigh 3 times what he weighs. So
that's a bit demoralising, isn't it?
Exactly, that makes a massive difference, which is why he's getting such good starts. He is on the 4-stroke, so he does have that low down grunt, makes it a little bit easier. And you see Taran, who does probably weigh a bit more than him, behind him on the 125, and you can just see that Taran falls back and Liam just shoots through. Well,
next class is on the grid, ready for a start. That is our pre-modern Open, Historic Open and Formula 3. We saw a fantastic battle in race 1 between Bob Sellers, the blue bike 57. Stuart Bug hunted him down, got him with a couple of laps to run, but Bob determined to break the minute, get into a 59. That's the challenge presented to him by his boys. Bob does actually get the start, but I think it's going to be Stuart Bug who'll out-drag him to turn 1, and he does. So now Bob's got his work cut out. What's he going to do to try and pull in the higher horsepower?
Bob's already come to the challenge with that.
Oh, he's run wide though.
The outside. He did run wide, but he has the inside line through turn 3 there.
Well, that's exactly what he needs to do. On the lower horsepower bike, he needs to make it work in the tighter sections. That's where its advantage is. He's a very experienced racer, so he'll know what he needs to do. But Stuart Bug's got the bar between his teeth, or the bit between his teeth, I should say.
And plenty of horsepower behind that bit as well. That
helps. John O'Hughes, I saw, just put a move move up into P3 as they ran down into Calvin. So who did he get past? He got past Larry Eaton. And here comes Matt Coward past Shane Morrisby on the R1. I don't know how Matt managed that on the smaller 600, but he got it done.
It will be a slightly lighter bike, so there's, he may have a little bit of advantage on the brakes there.
Well, look, as I was saying in Superpole, that drive out of Calvin's onto the back straight is absolutely critical to your speed down the straight. Definitely. And gearing. But at the moment, Bob Sellers doing what he needs to do and maintaining that gap at the front.
that is the one advantage that Bob does have on that SV650. He may be down on power, but he's definitely not down on grunt. Those things have got a lot of torque, so coming up the hill he managed to get quite a bit of pace from the bottom of the hill there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is standing him instead with Stuart Bugg behind him, because you can definitely see as Stuart comes up the hill there, he really winds up that speed at the top of the hill. What
we saw in race 1 was that Jono Hughes on the VFR 400 actually ended up doing the same lap times as the guys in front. So I thought if he got close enough, he's going to be in with a real shot here, and he's not far off.
No, definitely had a look under the brakes there. Didn't quite go through.
He's going to find it hard because of the lack of power in the 400, but we know what Jono's like. He's absolutely determined and will make any little opening an opportunity.
And that goes to say what we were saying before again about this track, how horsepower is not necessarily the key. In fact, it's definitely not the key.
That's right. It's why it's such a good motorcycle racetrack. Most people who come here just absolutely rave about the place.
Jono's closing all the time. I dare say his lap times are a bit quicker than the front runners at the moment.
Well, the last lap through, we had Bob Sellers at a 60.8, Stuart Bugg 60.3, and Jono Hughes 60.6.
That's it. It'll be interesting to see what the next lap is, because Jono has definitely closed right up.
And look at that, Stuart Bugg fires at 750 down the outside of Bob Sellers down the straight. So Bob really didn't have much he could do about that. He's going to have to work very, very hard to keep the bigger horsepower bike at bay. Especially now that Stuart's got his head.
Stuart seems to have picked up a bit there too. He's into the 59s now.
He did get into the 59s in race 1, so I think with a bit of a clear track, here's the risk. Bob's got to dig deep here if he's going to hang on to this.
And this is the place for him to do it if he's going to do it, through the S's. Because once they get down that back straight, he's going to have a challenge keeping up to him.
Jono Hughes last time through 60.9, so a little slower than two guys in front. So I think it's probably a bridge too far for him to get up with those front two. Now it's up to Bob Sellers to see what he can do about hanging on to Stuart Bugg.
That's the thing as well with Jono, like he had a really big dive at it there and he came really close, but it can be, like you said, a bit demoralising when those bigger bikes sort of tear away down the straight and you have to make that distance up again. And sometimes you've put it all in on that one lap to get up there and you're just not quite enough left in the tank to make it past.
That's right, and then you've got to think about if I'm going to overtake, it's got to be somewhere where I can gap them enough before you get back to the straight.
Exactly right. And I'm not quite sure where it works with this class, because it's a mixed class again, but it could also be that he just doesn't have a need to be in front of them.
No, you're absolutely right. You're talking about a pre-modern open bike in front from Bob Sellers is on a Formula 3 bike, and then I think Jono Hughes is on the historic
Formula 3 as well.
Oh, Formula 3,
yes. He
yes.
may be cross-entered with that. So he's at least in Formula 3 he's running second at the moment, which
That's
is
right.
Still a worthy spot to be.
Larry Eaton, who's he following? That's Matthew Coward, who's actually pulled out a little bit on Larry, so nice ride from Matthew.
I think he might have snuck up a few places while we were watching the front there.
61.5 from Matthew, so really good job. That's quick enough to be running around in the 2 hour on his old pre-modern R6. So put him on a more competitive bike, he's going to be well and truly fast enough to be in the 2 hour field. Yeah, I think it's pre-white flag time for Jono. I don't think he's going to... oh, look, I shouldn't say that knowing Jono. He won't. Given a sniff and he'll be there.
That's a look, and look, he does keep closing that gap a little bit again every time he comes into the S's. It seems to be maintained, you know, and offset by that straight line speed by the other two down the straight.
Well, he did the fastest lap in the field last time round, so there you go. I shouldn't have said that. 60.1. That shows he is closing on the guys in front. Does he have enough time left?
Well, he's got 3 laps left, so it's a big ask. It's not impossible, but he's definitely going to have to wind that throttle open a bit more.
He's certainly trying, and to have pulled about 0.8 second on his previous lap time. I don't know where he's found that from.
But he doesn't have to get in front of Stuart. He only has to get in front of Bob for the points.
That's right.
It does seem to have settled down a little bit in the rest of the field, though. Everyone seems to have found their place. So the battle really is going to come down to those front three, I think.
Yeah, how many laps have we got? Only two laps
laps
remaining,
left.
so they should be picking up the last lap board next time through. Stuart Bug looks to be quite comfortable there in the lead. But I think like you say, the challenge is going to be that John O'Hughes has got the sniff that he might be able to get up there with Bob Sellers. I think the SV650 would probably have the legs on the VFR 400 down the straight. There probably isn't a lot in it.
It does indeed, and I think as well the power delivery on the two will be very different. The VFR 400 is a V4 400cc race bike, well, street bike turned race bike, but it's definitely much more of a top-end machine than the SV, which, as mentioned earlier, has a lot of low-down grunt.
Well, last time through, Jono was 0.7 of a second faster
and he's
than...
closing very quickly on Bob through the S's there.
But this is the last lap.
If he can get on the tail, though, and he can sort of slow Bob down through Calvin's onto the back straight, he might just be able to slow him down enough to get him through the sweeper here. Although, looking at that, he's got a big ask to make that.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive lunge under brakes to try and get that done, particularly if the SV650 is a little bit quicker down the straight. We are about to find out. So Stuart Bug leads the field over the hump for the last time.
Comfortable lead. Very comfortable lead.
Oh, John O'Hughes, big lunge under brakes. It's really going to be a big effort through the chute to maybe take Bob by surprise, but I think he's a little bit too far back. One more lap maybe would have made the difference, but Bob Sellers will hold on.
That's exactly it. I think if he would have had another lap, looking at the way they've entered turn one there, he would have been all over him. But, that's the way it goes, though. He definitely put everything he had into it. Maybe just realised a little bit too late that he had the opportunity there. Yeah,
look, I think you're right. He didn't quite get the start he wanted, but that's the sort of racer that Jono is. He would have loved that just from the challenge of it. He'll go away, even though he got second in Formula 3. He'll be very happy with his race, no doubt. Would have enjoyed it. Ben Lydon just coming off the end of the back straight through the chute now. He's having a great race meet. About to line up again immediately after this in the Formula Basketball class.
It's a really interesting class this as well, in terms of that it really shows that, you know, as long as it has two wheels and an engine, you can effectively come and race almost anything.
Absolutely.
Such a varied range of bikes, and they're still all out there having a great time. So
yeah, we do try and create our classes to allow for that as much as possible. Obviously you can't allow for every type of bike, but really, as you say, most bikes will find somewhere to race. They might not be the most competitive bike in the field, but there is a hole for most bikes, and that's what club racing is about. Come out and have some fun.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Some people are obviously out to win at all costs. Others are out just for a lot of fun. And look, a great part of our club is the social side of it. It's a great family club. Very supportive.